wanted to read you one of my favorites today. It's The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except for old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax and why was it there? Why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. The Onceler. There he is, his eyes, you can see him peeking out. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock on his door. He stays at the Lurkum at the top of his store. He lurks in his Lurkum, cold under the roof. He makes his own clothes out of mit-mufford moof. And on special dark midnights in August, he peeks out of his shutters and sometimes he speaks to tell how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps, if you're willing to pay. At the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail. You'll have to toss in 15 cents, a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he'll pull up the pail and make most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him in his snerve, his secret strange hole in his glorious glove. Then he grunts, I'll call you by whisper-my-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slurp. Down slurps the whisper-my-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through this snurgly hose, and it sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now, I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax was lifted and taken away. It starts way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the ponds were still wet and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami Swans rang into space. One morning I came to this glorious place. I was the first. I saw those trees, the truffula trees, the bright colored tufts of those truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. Looks like there's some yellow and orange and red, pink, purple, all sorts of colors. And under the trees I saw the brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits, and they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming and splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. Their touch of their tuft was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew what to do. I unloaded my cart. It's kind of making a mess. The Oncelers. And in no time at all, I had built a small shop, and I had chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and great speedy speed, I took that soft tuft and I knitted a sneed. He looks kind of surprised. His eyes are big and his face, or maybe concerned. His face isn't looking so happy. The instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked and I saw something pop out of that stump of an old tree that I chopped down. What was sort of a man? Describe him? I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. He spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees because the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset. He shouted and he puffed. What is that thing that you've created out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, I'm doing no harm. There's no cause for alarm. I've chopped down one tree and I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a sneed. A sneed is find something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, and it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for a carpet, or a pillow, or sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. So many things. The Lorax said, "Sir, you're crazy with greed. No one on earth will buy that fool's Sneed." But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For that very next minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the Sneed that I'd knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor silly guy. You can just never tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Go away, if you please." I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone and I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts and said, "Listen here, you have a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch." This is what phones used to look like. They look like cell phones now, but this is an old-fashioned phone. You could put your finger in it and turn the button, and it would come back, and that was the number, and that was how you dialed numbers back then. Sneed's. So this is the Onceler's original shop, and look how big it's gotten now. It's so big. And in no time at all, the factory was built, and the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting Sneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. He's watching, but he's not saying anything. I wonder what he's thinking. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. 1, 2, 3, 4 trees he's chopping down now? Whoa, that's a very impressive machine. So I quickly invented my Super Axe Hacker, which chopped off 4 truffula trees with one smacker. We're making Sneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. Do you think he felt like people were listening to him? I don't think the Onceler was listening. The Onceler, in chief, private. Sneeds, Sneeds, look how big his buildings have gotten now. He's gotten so many more buildings than that first picture. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown Barbaloots who played in the shade and ate Barbaloot fruit in their Barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking of my truffula trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruits to go round. Oh, and my poor Barbaloots are getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. There they all go. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. Does that sound right? If he's hurting other people and making them feel not so good, having to leave their homes? Maybe one person. I don't know. Maybe he should think about that. Sneed, Sneeds, you need a Sneed, you need a Sneed. North, west, south, east, you need a Sneed. Whoa, look at this whole factory. They're just chopping all the trees. I meant him no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory and biggered my roads and biggered my wagons and biggered my loads. Of Sneeds I shipped out, I was shipping them forth. To the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. And I was right on biggering, selling more Sneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. I don't know if I feel like he's hearing the rest of his friends and community. Pipe house. Then again he came back. There's the Lorax again. I was finishing some pipes when the old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I am the Lorax," he coughed, and he whiffed, and he sneezed, and he snuffled, and he snarled, and he sniffed. "Onceler," he cried with a crofulous croak. "The Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke that my poor Swami Swans, why, they cannot sing a note. No one can sing when there's smog in their throat. Smog is this coming out of these pipes, it's what's coming out of the factory, so it doesn't smell very good. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. I cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape the smog that you've smogged up around here. The sky does look so much different than that first picture we saw with all the trees. Once more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about this glopulous glup. Your machinery keeps chugging on day and night without stopping, making gluppity glup and sluppity slup. And what do you do with that leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. Oh, it's coming out of his building in these pipes. You're gumming the ponds where the humming fish hummed, and so no one can hum if their gills are all gummed. Gills are how fish breathe, so we breathe through our nose and our mouth, but fish have lines on the side of their neck, and that's how they breathe air. They bring it in through their mouth and their nose, and then it goes through their gills. That's how they breathe. It's not the same as we do, but they live in the water. No more can they hum if their gills are all gone, so I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary, and they'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you I intend to go on just doing what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm biggering and biggering and turning more truffula trees into sneeds, which everyone needs. Oh, look at all of those trees are gone. Those are just the little tree stumps left. There were so many. Just that last one. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From the outside of the field came a snickering smack of an axe on a tree. We heard the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more sneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles and aunts and everyone had waved goodbye and jumped in their cars and drove away under the smoggy smeared stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was an empty factory, the Lorax and I. Oh, I think that's the thing he was left in the beginning of the book, where he said he was lifted and taken away. I think that's the same rocks. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad, sad backwards glance. And he lifted himself up by the seat of the pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself up and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks and one word, unless. U-N-L-E-S-S, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I couldn't guess. That was so long, long ago. But each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, said the Onceler, now that you're here, see the little boy who's standing on the word unless. The words of the Lorax seem perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. So catch! He let something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last truffula seed. The truffula trees are what everyone needs. Now, plant a new truffula and treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest and protect it that axes from hack. protect it from axes that hack, and then the Lorax and his friends may come back. Oh, so now he sees that those trees were so important, and he wants all the other friends to come back. Wow. Thank you guys for reading that special book with me.